Tough, Arizona. In Tucson, the other, the investigation.
For 4 years, we are going to change this country by sunset tomorrow night.
Our top story tonight, the final words from the candidates during the last hours of the 1992 campaign. Tonight, whirlwind campaigning by the three major party candidates, where they were, what they had to say today. A look at how the president is really elected. It's not by popular vote. Plus, if you plan to vote, what you need to know before you head to the polls.
Our top story begins with the final push in the presidential race. Both George Bush and Bill Clinton went on whirlwind tours through several states considered key in tomorrow's election. Mike James has a look at the last day on the campaign trail.
There's no new message out there on this final day of the 92 campaign. Only the locales are different. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Missouri, as the candidates battle for states that could swing this election in the last hours. Governor Clinton hit 9 battleground states today, the president 8 over the last 2 days. The themes are almost incantations now: character and experience, the economy and change.
And here's what it's about. Here's what it's about. The choice before the American people is the vast difference in experience, a vast difference in philosophy, and yes, a vast difference in character. Character matters.
This election is a big election, folks. It will chart the future of America well into the 21st century. And it is about big ideas. No more trickle down, not back to tax and spend. Put the American people first. Invest in them. Control their health care costs. Provide education and training. Make sure we compete on a fair basis with other countries and rebuild the industrial base of America. We can win again if we do that. We can win again if we do that.
Clinton's voice now, after months on the road, is a rasp just above a whisper. But in Ohio, a big electoral state, he turned it into an appeal.
Teddy Roosevelt once said that we should walk softly and carry a big stick. Today, I want to talk softly and carry Ohio.
The president on the stump in New Jersey brought back the Persian Gulf War and the experience issue by sending a warning to an old enemy, Saddam Hussein.
You're going to have to contend with me. You're going to have to do what the United Nations said. We're going to keep the pressure on you till you take the pressure off your own people.
Independent Ross Perot's last rally in hometown Dallas did not draw a huge crowd, but they loved his new campaign song, Willie Nelson's Crazy, used to mock presidential aides who've called him crazy. Perot also mocked the polls and promised a surprise tomorrow.
And if you will get those 10 friends in your house, and I'm talking all over the country, tonight, y'all talk about it, y'all figure out what's good for the country, good for your children. We are going to change this country by sunset tomorrow night.
Now, all of the presidential candidates are on television tonight, except the president will rely mostly on commercials. He will not make a personal speech, a personal talk appeal. Barry and Jean.
We've heard just about everything during the course of this campaign, including some name-calling. Was there any of that today?
A bit quieter today on that. President Bush referred to Vice President candidate Al Gore as Ozone Man again. But the only name today came out of Ross Perot. He has come to call Governor Clinton Chicken Man because of the poultry business in the state of Arkansas. But, you know, we don't want to read too much into this, but some of the people who follow the campaign noted today that Bill Clinton was talking more presidential, making broader appeals, while the president was continuing to attack. That may suggest they're seeing different polls. Bush may not like his, Clinton may like what he's seeing.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
The vice presidential candidates also spent the day blazing campaign trails. Dan Quayle targeted Al Gore's home state of Tennessee before making a Midwest swing, ending in his own home state of Indiana. Quayle told supporters in Chattanooga if the American people want change, they should focus on Congress, not on the White House. Meantime, Al Gore started his day with a rally in North Carolina before making a swing through the South and Midwest. Gore telling his supporters the Bush campaign's character attacks show Republicans don't have anything good to say about their own plans for the future. In all, Gore is campaigning in 7 states today, from North Carolina to Missouri. Vice President Quayle's track took him to Tennessee and 5 Midwest states. The presidential candidates, however, outstumped their running mates Bush looking for votes in 6 states, Clinton campaigning in 10 states. Ross Perot making one campaign stop today in Texas.
And while the candidates are trying to lure voters to their individual camps, the popular vote does not elect the president. The Electoral College does. And a strong independent candidate such as Ross Perot could throw a wrench into the other political candidates' plans. Our top story coverage continues now with King 5's Linda Brill.
You think you're voting for a candidate, but you're really voting for the candidate's representatives, his electors. States get electoral votes equal to their representatives in the House and Senate. Washington State has 11 electoral votes, 2 for each Senate seat and 9 for each House seat. The key to the Electoral College is the rule that winner takes all. That means whichever candidate gets the most popular votes goes on to get all of that state's electoral votes. According to a USA Today poll, Clinton enjoys a huge electoral advantage. Bush is ahead in only 4 states and leading in 6 others. Clinton has solid leads in 18 states and is close to the 270 electoral votes needed to win. Perot is not expected to carry any states and may only be a factor in Texas and Florida.
It's a question of whether he draws more votes from Bush or Clinton. I guess the feeling in Texas was that he would probably draw more votes from Bush because Bush would have the home state favorite son stature there.
You cast your vote tomorrow. The electors cast their vote Monday, December 14th. In Seattle, Linda Brill, King 5 News.
Analysts believe that President Bush must sweep the South and win major electoral states such as Ohio and New Jersey to overcome Governor Bill Clinton.
What about British bookies, you might have been asking? Well, they say Bill Clinton is the best bet to become America's next president. Odds on the Arkansas governor are set at 8-1, which means bettors will make $1 profit for every 8 they bet on Clinton if he wins. The odds on President Bush are 4-1. On Ross Perot, 100-1. A spokesman for Ladbrokes, one of England's legal betting agencies, says the British bettors say Clinton is a racing certainty. While the presidency may be the banner contest across the country and across the globe, there could be a lot of change in the U.S. Congress. All 435 seats in the House are up for grabs, including 9 right here in Washington State. 35 Senate seats will be decided tomorrow. Just one of those is from our state, and that's the contest between Democrat Patty Murray and Republican Rod Chandler. Tell you more about their final day on the campaign trail in the second half hour of King 5 News tonight.
And because of the major contest, it's expected that a record number of voters in Washington will be heading for the polls tomorrow.
Our top story continues now with King 5's Julie Francavilla live from outside the King County election headquarters with the latest. Julie?
The countdown is on to an election day that could make voter history. This could be a record-setting year here in Western Washington.
Just here, because you're in King County. And tell him that we'll call in to the polling place to let him know.
Vote in here or take it with you?
Take it with me.
Here at King County elections, there are all kinds of signs pointing to a huge voter turnout.
I can look at it for you and see what that is.
Signs like phones that ring on and on.
You have nothing else to do.
And absentee votes that keep on dropping in. The reason?
And I feel like every little vote like mine is going to count.
That's the feeling that an expected 700,000 people seem to have in King County alone. They're creating an expected 80% voter turnout. That's just 2 percentage points behind the county's all-time record, set back in 1960.
I think the number of candidates, the number of races, the closeness of the races, the high potential for change, the uncertainty attracts everybody and makes them feel that, yes, they do have the chance to make a difference.
Pierce County is seeing the same type of thing. Voter turnout is expected to be 75% of the county's 312,000 registered voters. Snohomish County looks much the same, with a projected 83% of voters hitting the polls and a record 272,053 registered voters.
Because so many issues are on the ballot, and this is a very critical time this year for everybody.
To get through the voting process easier tomorrow, be sure to know who you're voting for before you go to the polls. Go to vote early in the morning to beat the worst crowds. And no matter when you go, expect to wait in line between 20 minutes and an hour at your polling place. If you have voting questions tomorrow in King County, call 296-VOTE. In Pierce County, 591-7430. or 1-800-446-4979. And in Snohomish, again, if you can, go early in the morning and you'll beat some of the lines. I'm Julie Francavilla reporting live in Seattle.
Of course, instant results right here starting at 8 o'clock on King 5. Julie, what about redistricting that happened since the last election? How will that affect voters tomorrow?
Jean, that changes a lot of things. A lot of people are in new districts, which means they have new polling places. They should all check their voter registration cards that they got in the mail to make sure they know exactly where to go to vote.
All right, Julie, thank you.
The bottom line tonight, presidential candidates Bush and Clinton are on the road campaigning in 16 states just hours before voters go to the polls tomorrow. Another Perot infomercial airs on national television tonight. A record voter turnout is likely in Washington state tomorrow. King 5 is committed, of course, to bringing you the latest results tomorrow night beginning at 6 p.m. with NBC Decision 92 coverage. Then live updates throughout the evening on local races and Decision 92, a special report at 10, followed by an expanded edition of King 5 News at 11.
Meantime, coming up next on King 5 News, looking for the answers. The niece of a Seattle woman who was mistakenly pronounced dead said she told police on the scene she saw her aunt's foot move.
A weekend pipe bombing in Seattle's U District. Police still have no arrests.
Police in Portland take extra precautions, gearing up for a controversial election day.
Yesterday, Betty Broderick told why she murdered her husband and his new bride. Now her children tell their side of the story. Right after the murder, the first person Betty turned to was her daughter.
I knew the gun went off, that's why I had to get out of there. And when I went to my daughter's, I told her that.
In the emotional trials, the children testified against their own mother.
Dad didn't do all these things to her, and he definitely didn't deserve to die.
Betty Broderick's children set the record straight on the next Open.
Tuesday at 4 on King 5.
Our solar system is 1,000 billion kilometers in diameter, which clearly suggests the insignificance of Earth, and even more so our minuscule corner of it. Does one human life then have 1 ounce of importance? Not in this millennium.
Get real. Every person is important. In fact, even more so than money.
Have a nice day.
I was very proud of my kids, but with each one I put on more weight. I saw a very ugly, fat body. I went to Jenny Craig so I could have my own personal counselor. Pam was great. She helped me look at why I eat. She could always make me focus on my goal, getting that weight off. I could call her and work out just about anything. It was quite a team effort, and it worked out really well for me.
Call us right now and lose all the weight you want for just $1 a pound. Pick up the phone and dial 1-800-92-JENNY.
Everything to get you through winter is here at the Les Schwab side. The tires, the chains, the studs, the batteries. In snow tires alone, our biggest winter selection ever, including Snowflex, that Les Schwab exclusive. Chains, all types. For passenger cars, pickups, performance cars. No matter what you drive, if it takes a tire or a battery, at Les Schwab we've got it. In stock. Everything to get you through winter.
King 5 News is sponsored in part by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
You're watching King 5 News with Jean Enersen and Barry Judge.
A Seattle woman mistakenly pronounced dead over the weekend is now in critical condition tonight at Harborview Medical Center.
How she wound up there is one of the most bizarre stories in recent memory. King 5's John Sandifer joins us live tonight from the hospital with the latest on this story. John?
The woman is 68-year-old Roberta Jones from North Seattle, and she ended up here at Harborview Hospital after she was pronounced dead by a Seattle firefighter with apparent concurrence from a Seattle police officer and a county medical examiner. Jones had failed to respond to phone calls and to knocking on her apartment door. A niece called 911. Firefighters kicked open the door only to find Roberta Jones dead on the floor. They thought.
Her body temperature was 90 degrees. She was very cold. She was pulseless. She was not breathing. And the symptoms that she had indicated that to both firefighters and the medical examiner who followed us that she had died.
But Jones was in reality in a deep hypothermic state, not necessarily because her apartment was cold. The electricity was working and the thermostat was turned up more than halfway. At Columbia Funeral Home, the worker who had transported the body noticed a slight movement inside the bag. He checked and found moisture where the body had been exhaling. At Harborview Hospital, where Jones was rushed, her niece cannot understand how this happened.
This is bizarre. This is absolutely bizarre. I just don't know how it could have got through so many people, you know.
And Carolyn Bauer says she saw her aunt's foot move and told a police officer who told her it was probably the wind that did it.
But it wasn't the wind that blew it. He told me it was the wind that blew it, but it wasn't. There's no way it was the wind that blew it because it moved from underneath the blanket. It didn't just move on top of the blanket.
If the fire department and police guessed wrong about a death, why didn't the medical examiner determine the woman was really dead?
It's not really his responsibility, because our responsibility begins when death is established. That's the only reason we would ever be called to the scene, is when the death is there. We don't get called there because we're not sure. We'd say, hey, wait a minute, call somebody who's medically qualified.
So who is responsible for pronouncing a person dead at the scene? Well, as this case indicates, sometimes the weight of that decision falls on a line Seattle firefighter or a police officer who may have medical training, emergency medical training, but does not have the expertise or even the tools to determine for sure. I'm John Sandifer reporting live at Harborview Medical Center.
John, what is the prognosis now for Roberta Jones?
Apparently not good, Barry. She suffers from colon cancer in the advanced stages, which we understand can produce a hypothermic state. Beyond that, we have learned that the family has approved the removal of all artificial life support systems.
John Sandifer, live tonight in Seattle. Jean.
Well, tonight Seattle investigators say they don't think a University District explosion is linked to a pipe bomb blast on campus last week. Bomb squad crews combed Northeast 40th Street near the UW after an explosion destroyed a parked car Saturday night and damaged 2 other cars. Luckily, nobody was injured in the blast that scattered debris across the street, shattered windows, and shook nearby apartments. Just last Tuesday, a pipe bomb explosion caused $2,500 damage to a campus guard gate at the university's main entrance. Gennaro Meatball Arthur, the man authorities describe as an assassin for New Orleans' most dangerous drug gang, was back in a Seattle courtroom today. At the hearing, federal prosecutors positively identified Arthur as the man wanted in Louisiana, where he's implicated in some 29 murders. That's the first step in sending him there to stand trial. On the run for 3 years, 28-year-old Arthur was arrested in Seattle last week while working at a restaurant in Queen Anne. He's being held without bail until a further hearing to determine exactly when he'll be returned to Louisiana.
Still ahead on King 5 News tonight, putting teeth into a United Nations drift netting ban. The president signs the Enviro bill into law.
And in our second half hour tonight, dancing away the aches and pains of arthritis.
A great way to start the week. Nice Monday, Jim.
No need to dance around between the raindrops, as a matter of fact. Today, just a few showers. We're going to be taking a look at the forecast for Election Day and several days thereafter, and the 90-day seasonal outlook. All that coming up just in a couple of moments.
I'm Robert Mack in Tacoma. A man once accused of child molestation is shot dead outside his home. Now all police have to find a suspect are 10 words the victim said before he died. That story coming up on King 5 News at 6:30.
You see all the prettiest faces at your discount tire store because everybody likes to save money. Everybody. Discount Tire Company.
Supreme Court Justice. You want to elect only the best. And that's why judges across Washington are choosing Elaine Houghton, selected as one of the best lawyers in America, first woman named Trial Lawyer of the Year, endorsed by police and firefighters and by the Women's Political Caucus. Join a majority of Superior Court judges in King, Pierce, and Spokane counties and other judges across the state by voting for Elaine Houghton for Supreme Court.
Campaign reform. It's a complex issue. Take Initiative 134. The big oil companies and Philip Morris, the tobacco giant, and other special interests paid tens of thousands of dollars to put 134 on the ballot. Why? Do you trust Philip Morris and Union Oil of California to clean up our government? Do you think their plans for our state match yours? Citizens from across the state urge you to vote no on 134 because it's not real reform.
Drugs, a threat to our children in our neighborhoods. Norm Malling has been tough on drug dealers as King County prosecutor, and he'll be tough on them as Attorney General.
This is no place for our kids. As Attorney General,
I'll lead the fight for drug education, to keep kids off drugs and out of places like this. As for drug dealers, we'll give them the same break that they give us. No break at all.
Tough, compassionate, standing up for us. Norm Mailing, Attorney General.
It's not only her many supporters, it's what everyone is saying about Jennifer Dunn. Respected for the way she's led the fight for clean, honest government here at home. Articulate and intelligent, she would command immediate clout in the new Congress. Jennifer Dunn. Formidable, with proven valuable skill in the art of compromise. A combination of fire and common sense. Strong on jobs, tough on crime. Yes, let's give Congress a good name. Jennifer Dunn.
These are tough times for middle-class families. After 12 years of Republican neglect and trickle-down economics, we're having a tough time making ends meet. Working harder for less money, spending less time with our children, paying more for health care and education. The Republicans in Washington cut taxes for the rich, raised taxes on the middle class, tried to cut college aid for middle-class kids, and has helped nothing. Enough is enough. It's time for a change. The New Democrats fighting for a better future for hard-working families.
A reminder, Domino's Bacon Cheeseburger Pizza Feast is still $8.99.
A pretty wet weekend, but there was a bit of a pause right around the time I suspect many of your youngsters or you youngsters went out for trick-or-treat. Hopefully it was enough to let you be dry at least most of the time. We did get enough rainfall, though, for the cities of Bellevue and Seattle to lift all water restrictions. 53 degrees right now in Seattle. Partly cloudy skies, winds out of the southwest at 6. In Tacoma, 54, winds light, and out of the west at 1 mile per hour. And up in Everett, 54, partly cloudy, and southerly winds at 6 miles per hour. Today's official high, 56. A low this morning, 46. About 45 hundredths of an inch of rainfall, primarily overnight and last evening, and the air quality is listed as good. Let's take a look at our current pass conditions. Barren wet Snoqualmie Pass, snow tires advised Stevens and Blewett. And snow and slush on the roadway at White Pass, Chinook, snow tires advised. They've received 16 inches of snow. Snow tires advised at North Cascades Highway, and it's still snowing there. Across the United States, major storm system pushing through the Great Lakes into the southeastern United States. We'll notice that there's extensive rain roughly from the southeastern states into the northeast and back into the eastern Great Lakes, mainly rain there and then also into Iowa and Illinois. But then just to the north into the Dakotas and Minnesota, lots of snow in that area and also over the central and northern Rockies. Tomorrow, look for forecast highs of 77 in Los Angeles, 39 for a high in Denver, 31 in Minneapolis-St. Paul. Winter has arrived there a little bit early, 59 in New York City, and 87 in Orlando. Early, I should say, compared to what we're used to in Minneapolis. This is typical. 90-day outlook is in. It looks for milder than normal weather over the southwest right along the Pacific coast into the northern Rockies. Cooler than normal over the central part of the United States. Precipitation about normal to slightly below over the west coast, but much drier than normal over the central part of the Ohio and Mississippi River Valley, wetter than normal over the extreme southeast. Here in the northwest, look for our satellite picture. Shows a disturbance pushing to the north as high pressure builds up, and that's going to give us a dry offshore flow. The end result tonight, the few showers we had earlier today, tapering off partly to mostly clear skies. Later tonight, some locally dense fog. Low temperatures tonight are going to be cool, especially from Tacoma southward. Look for lows in the low to mid-30s and in the upper 30s to low 40s elsewhere. Then tomorrow, look for fog, giving way to partly to mostly sunny skies. Highs in the mid to upper 50s. East of the Cascades, upper 40s to mid-50s with some areas of fog in the morning. And winds generally northeasterly, 0 to 15 knots, picking up a little bit faster in the afternoon hours. Up in the mountains, valley fog, otherwise sunny. Afternoon past temperatures 40 to 47 degrees. 5-day outlook Wednesday, gradually increasing clouds, showers at times on Thursday, then partial clearing with some fog on Friday. Rain developing probably late Saturday or on Sunday, a high of 51 degrees. But we picked up a lot of snow up in the Cascades and the Olympics. Not enough to open for skiing, but up at Chinook Pass, as I mentioned, 16 inches of snow.
Enough to dream about skiing.
I think so. I've already been doing that.
Jeff, thanks.
Okay. Here now is a brief look at other news making headlines around western Washington today. 3 vacation homes in Whatcom County were hit by suspicious fires overnight. One was destroyed, the other 2 damaged, nobody hurt. The Tulalip tribes have reversed an earlier decision and are now willing to sell land to the Navy for the proposed Everett home port. And a Pierce County report says a proposed horse racing track for Fife could produce 1,800 jobs and inject $77 million a year into our economy.
Looking ahead to King 5 News at 6:30 tonight, how little mushrooms are becoming big business here in Western Washington. Some pickers are pulling in $100 a pound.
Still ahead in this broadcast, pitching pumpkins. That's what the folks at Woodland Park Zoo were doing today in an after-Halloween tradition.
Startling revelations give credence to Hawaii's mysterious goddess of fire. I'm Penny Legate.
And I'm Brian Tracy. Tonight, witness Madame Pele's legendary power. Plus, where do Hawaiians go to find unspoiled paradise?
Hidden Hawaii, tonight at 7 on Evening Magazine.
Some people want to change popular music. At Minute Loop, we just want to change your oil.
Landing gear from Russell Athletic. Also available for the entire family.
It's a simple fact of nature that this tree will take 50 years to mature. So to ensure that Weyerhaeuser always has trees, we only harvest about 2% of our forest land a year, which means close to 98% of Weyerhaeuser forest land is always growing trees. Some 1 year old, some 10, some 50 and ready for harvest, which is a long way of saying that Weyerhaeuser will have trees forever. Weyerhaeuser, the tree growing company.
Another lackluster day on Wall Street. The economy is growing.
Welfare. Rising unemployment.
Jobs must come from growth. Bush administration jobs lost to the Spotted Owl, laying off 40% of its workforce. Elvis economics. Bankruptcy. Inflation way down. Working harder for less. Recovery is anemic. Exporting the gridlock Democratic Congress.
Giving people back their dignity.
In News of the West tonight, the murder trial of a Sacramento boarding home owner got underway today, 4 years after 7 bodies were dug up in her yard. 63-year-old Dorothea Puente is charged with killing a total of 9 people between 1982 and 1988 to get their government checks. Prosecutors claim she killed the victims with overdoses of medication. Puente has admitted to cashing the checks, but her attorneys claim all the deaths were from natural causes or suicide. In Portland, police are getting ready now for Election Day by beefing up patrols and taking special steps to keep that city safe. They're concerned about possible fallout from the controversial anti-homosexual rights ballot measure. They want to be ready no matter which way the vote goes.
Everyone is aware that all parties involved have received threats, that it's a very emotional, very volatile subject, and certainly we're just trying to listen and be responsive to our community.
Police have identified several people and locations that they think could be the targets of attacks. Those people and places will receive special attention by police.
And in Eugene, Oregon, jury selection began today in the trial of an Oregon state senator accused of campaign law violations and theft. Democratic State Senator Peg Jolin of Cottage Grove is accused of sending a misleading campaign fundraising letter in 1990. The letter allegedly said she had a campaign deficit when her campaign actually had a surplus. Jolin, who has pleaded innocent, is not up for re-election tomorrow. That story wraps up the News of the West.
Coming up next on King 5 News tonight, one of the most hotly contested races in our state is for the U.S. Senate. Rod Chandler and Patty Murray have been battling it out. Next, we'll take a look at their final day.
Plus, President Bush signs DriftNet legislation, what the new laws mean to you and the rest of us here in the Northwest.
And now from the I think I've heard this story before department, here's Tony.
Magic Johnson very much back in the news as he retires for the second time within a year. We'll have that story for you. Also, how about this? The Pac-12. How does that sound? It is a little awkward, isn't it? We'll talk about that possibility. And the Seahawks get ready for the next opponent. Should be a breeze. The Redskins. Yow!
Yikes!
About 7 minutes from now.
Those stories and more as King 5 News continues for Centralia, Kent, and your part of Western Washington.
If Madonna and the Pied Piper had a love child, her name would be Shusha. Tall, blonde, beautiful, and talented, she looks like a sex kitten, and her children's show is the most popular program in South America. Next time on Entertainment Tonight, you'll jet off to Rio for an exclusive look at Xuxa, Brazil's most famous star, who's planning to invade America. So get ready. Exclusively on Entertainment Tonight. Tonight at 7:30 on King Fox.
Archibald Leach did it. So did Francis Ethel Gump.